This next segment, admittedly quite excited for. I'll tell you now, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I love the Phoenix Suns of the NBA. And running a new show in Israel, I really couldn't dream of just how I'd ever end up with some of my favorite former players in the studio with me. Well, they brought the reason to me today, and it's all under Project Max, an Israeli nonprofit aimed at combating anti-Semitism, racism, and intolerance through sports. And this last week, actually 10 days, took the form of a basketball camp for kids, Israelis, Palestinians, Christians, and Muslims, on the court together in Jerusalem. So I have to introduce, welcome to Zoom In and i24 News, the Eddie Johnson, better known perhaps as the smooth shooter, EJ, a 17-year NBA veteran, current play-by-play TV analyst for the Phoenix Suns. Good to have you with us. Mark West, of course, your longtime Suns center, big man, tough guy, also 17-year NBA veteran here, currently ambassador for the Phoenix Suns charities. So important work they've carried on with the organization. And last but not least, of course, Eric Rubin, the executive director of Project Max. So important stuff all around. I've got to start, Eric, admittedly, with the NBA guys here in the room. First of all, EJ, look, in 1989, sixth man of the year with the Suns. It's very exciting to see you here, of course. Tell us about, how you got to coming to Israel, of all places.
Well, I mean, I'm a historian. I majored in history, and I just never had the chance, but this guy here made it possible to be able to come here. And for me, I'm more about when I see something than take in what somebody's telling me. And the fact that I have had a tremendous 10 days here just tells me a lot about all the things that I was hearing that's not quite true. And so for me, it's been a pleasurable experience.
Remarkable. That's a fundamental part, I think, of, how important it is to come to Israel. I want to follow up on that. Mark, I mean, I got to mention basketball, of course. Andrew Lang, the Towers, you guys were in the Suns for a while. I mean, you took on Michael Jordan in the 93 finals, many other guys as well on the court. Look, you're the point man for Suns charities at this point. What brought you to Israel? What does that look like connected to your role with the Suns?
I think it's, for me, it's always, my mom raised us to always give back when you can, if you can, however much you can. And then, like Eddie said, we got the opportunity through Eric's being here and having us come out.
Participate in something like that, and it stood for things that we stood for. You know what I mean? We try to fight racism wherever it may show its face, and anti-Semitism wherever it may show up, and we have a platform in which we could do some good, so we do the good.
Hugely impactful. This is again amazing and so heartening to just hear these real sentiments from you guys. And Eric, of course, I mean, tell us about Project Max. I mean, where did this come from, and how'd you get connected to the Suns?
So, first of all, I started the retirement plan for the NBA in 1998. So I know these guys for 25.
A little bit of background there.
A little bit of background. I've known them for 25 years. Also, Athletes for Israel, I'm on the advisory board. We bring athletes to Israel who have a platform, like Mark and Eddie said, to make sure they see the country for themselves. And Athletes for Israel partners with Project Max, which was founded by an Israeli AI company, and the Maccabi World Union. The goal is to use sports to combat racism, anti-Semitism, and intolerance. As you know, whether it was the men's French national soccer team that's experienced racism, what happened in Greece with Israelis, or what goes around the world, there's no place for hatred in sports.
Along those lines, I mean, coexistence so clearly needed, Eddie, especially among kids. Was that evident to you, being on the court, with these kids? Did it stand out to you like, hey, this is a special experience that these kids are getting that's outside the box for them?
And they're knowledgeable, too. I mean, it wasn't like they were just immune to me being there or just the idea of what it takes to play basketball. I saw a drive in their eyes, a dream that maybe I can be an Israeli citizen to be able to make the NBA. And so for me, when you see that look, you want to give them everything that you got. And I think that's what I got out of these camps that I did, and working with Tamir Goodman, who does a fabulous job, and just being around these young kids and just seeing the love for the game. This is, this is universal, basketball is, and it's just great to touch kids from everywhere.
And you guys touched on this. I mean, there's so much, out there about the conflict here, about this country, right or wrong, left or right, all these issues. There's a lot out there. You got to get past a lot of that to get here and sort of see what's happening. Mark, how did that, the conflict, that underlies all this, how did you sort of see that, or how did you do you see that taken on in the context of getting these kids together? Was it, were you uplifted essentially as well?
Sports is what brings, if look at the NBA, look how diverse it is. I mean, so sports, it kind of throws all that nonsense out of the way. It's about bringing people together and working at a common goal, and putting your differences aside. I think when we did the basketball camp, we could see that the kids, they just want to play basketball. They just want to enjoy, and whoever's on their team, they just want to win a game. They just want to learn a skill, and hopefully that becomes a part of who they are, not just what they do as far as the sport is concerned. That they, we can do this together. We're stronger together. We can become something amazing together, and then we can be judged by the content of our character and not by some whatever else.
Exactly, these kids are bridging, cultural gaps and, coming to each other in some cases from across the tracks, so to say, and, bridging, the Palestinians and Israeli kids, the Jews and the Muslims, the Christians. What did you notice those differences on the court, Eddie? I mean, were these types of things you said, hey, at first, maybe it was a 10-day camp. Did you see the kids at first struggling with some of these issues, then having overcome them, or how'd that play out?
So kids just getting along, having a good time, opening their eyes, trying to work together, learn together. And that's one of the biggest surprises for me, based on what I grew up reading and hearing. And I've had the opportunity to not only be in an Israeli Jew's kitchen eating, but also an Arab's kitchen, being in their neighborhood. And I want people to know that. They might think I just came here to Israel and I was protected by the strength of this guy. You see how strong he is. But no, I was out among the masses and I didn't feel any kind of urgency to be alert or feel like I would be harmed. And I just saw people respecting each other. And to me, that was the biggest surprise. But it was something that I expected.
I mean, it's awesome. It's such a success of what you guys have been here doing. So no doubt, you've left an impact on that. And I mean, Eric, in terms of this and bringing the kids you do, I don't know how they're kind of recruited or brought in, but I mean, the level, the opportunity of sports, essentially, to provide opportunity to kids from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, who may not otherwise see a horizon for sort of great success. Do you feel like you're getting to the right kids? Is it hard to get people into these programs?
We absolutely are. There's an amazing organization here called the 48ers. And on our last visit, which had Cedric Toney, Dale Ellis, and Theo Ratliff, we also did basketball clinics with them. Half of the children were Ethiopian. Half of the group were females. We also had the first Palestinian woman who's playing professional basketball in Israel. Wow. Myrna Saya, come to the clinic. So the kids, we're trying to set example where we have African-American, Jews, Tamir Goodman, an Orthodox Jew, and a Palestinian woman all together showing. One of my favorite moments from this trip was Myrna playing one-on-one with Eddie, and all of the children standing, but all the children are standing around watching.
Wow. It's inspiring to me just to, hear the impact of this. I understand it from some of my experience on the ground with kids, especially. Extremely powerful. And I know that you left a lasting impact. And I know there's more to come, Eric. So we'll stay in touch in terms of what the project's doing next and the next iterations. For now, EJ, Mark West, it's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you in the studio, especially given the real important work you've done here this week in Israel, the small neck of the woods that I currently call home, although I've always had my eye on the Suns.
We got to get you a Suns jersey.
Yeah, I could use it. No doubt about that. Absolutely proud to put that flag right here, whatever it is. Great to have you guys. Thanks for coming to Israel. Thanks for being part of that program, and thanks for joining us on the program. Eric as well. We'll be in touch, running up as long as I can here with just seconds to go. Thank you for joining us here. I'm David Matlin, coming to you live from Tel Aviv. We'll see you tomorrow.